I was 2 years old when I arrived in San Pedro. My family is actually from Arkansas, but my relatives have been in San Pedro since the start of the last century, almost 100 years. And over a course of 20 or 30 years, most of the relatives migrated to the LA Harbor area, primarily Wilmington and San Pedro. So we have a history in both Wilmington and San Pedro. We first lived in a public housing project in San Pedro in an area called Channel Heights. The area now is bounded by Western Avenue and Westmont Drive. It was a public housing project at the time, and most of the residents there at the time were shipyard workers. This was during World War II. And we lived there for several years, and then later we moved down to Rancho San Pedro near First and Beacon Street. And we spent a lot of years there before my parents bought their first house up on Oliver Street in San Pedro. Education was central in our family, education and religion, and with my parents. With 11 children in the family, raised, at that time one had passed away, 11 children raised in the family, education was central. Graduation from high school was expected. Dropping out of school was not an issue, never going to be an issue. And everyone was expected to go to college if you could find a way to get there. All did go to college. Everyone's expected to have a part-time job. All did have a part-time job. I sold newspapers on the LA waterfront for a number of years, starting at age 9 to about age 16. And I'll talk about that. And then we were part of church. We went to church every Sunday, all of us, in 2 shifts in the car. Actually, my ancestors, my senior relatives, were part of the foundation of 3 churches in the Harbor area. They were part of the founding members of New Hope Baptist Church in Wilmington in the about 1920, and the church is still there. They were part of New Testament Baptist Church in Wilmington, founded in 1938. And then here in San Pedro, several relatives were part of the founding members of Mount Sinai Baptist Church, which was founded in 1928 here in San Pedro, and is still here in San Pedro. And we still have some relatives that attend that church. So my family is really grounded here in the Harbor area. All of the children graduated high school at some time, all attended LA Harbor College. I attended there for about a year, then transferred to Long Beach City College, where I received my associate degree. And then later, I transferred to Cal State Long Beach, where I received my bachelor's degree. And then a couple of years later, I enrolled at USC and received a master's degree. And then I received a scholarship to attend Harvard University in a national security scholarship, and I attended there and received an executive diploma in national security. Well, the inspiration came from my parents because they did not have the opportunities to attend school and do the things that we had the opportunity to do. They were from the South, from Arkansas, segregated South. Schools were segregated in the county that they lived in. The colored schools only went to the 8th grade, and then only a few months a year. And that's why they left the South, to have a better life for their children, and they moved west. And so when they arrived here in California, and specifically here in San Pedro, education became paramount. My parents were involved in our school from the beginning. We attended Channel Heights Elementary School, all of us did. Channel Heights Elementary School is now called Park Western Elementary School, up on off Western Avenue. But my mother was all involved in a PTA there. She was a PTA president. When we were in Dana Junior High School, my mother was involved with the Teachers Council there, as well as San Pedro High School. And so, but there was always somebody in our family in school at some time. My mother tells a story that with so many children. Just one time, she attended 3 graduations on the same day. One from elementary school, one from junior high, and one from high school.